Hey gentlefolk, my name is Malte Krug. Welcome back to another episode of All About Keys. After a few episodes featuring samplers and sequencers, I will get back to a synthesizer again in this one. And for the first time in this series, this unit won't be originating from the US or Japan, like all the others did so far. This one comes from Italy. But first let's check what else this month's KB-Magazin had up its sleeve 40 years ago. And for the first time, we have an actual musician on the cover and not boring equipment. Cosa Rosa has been the name of a band project of Rosemarie Precht and Reinhold Heil, who got his own interview about half a year ago in this magazine. More info about her in a few minutes. After the obligatory content list and the letters to the editor, we get the news section. And here the new Commodore computer gets presented, the Amiga. After the Atari ST, this is the second 16-bit home computer from the 80s, which looked very interesting for musicians. Especially because they mention here that it will have a MIDI interface as standard, like the ST. But these infos might have been from a preliminary manufacturer's info sheet, because we all know the Amiga never contained this built-in MIDI interface and never became a competitor to the Atari ST, when it came to MIDI applications at least. It's been good for gaming and graphics though. This photo on the left shows a special MIDified version of a Yamaha C7 grand piano with a built-in DX7 synthesizer used by Toto on their then latest tour. For me, it looks like as if they just got rid of the music stand and dropped in the DX7 right there. They say here that David Page triggers a TX816 from the keyboard of the grand piano and that he uses the brand new KX88 master keyboard as well, which I mentioned briefly last month, but it will get its own video soon. Down here we can read more technical specs of the awaited sequential Prophet 2000 sampler, which will get its special in this series soon. But the sampling rate of 30 kHz they mention here is not the maximum of the possible rates with this machine. It can do 42 kHz sampling, but maybe this is to show that the Prophet holds twice the memory than the other big American sampler that just got released a few months back, the Mirage, with which I played around in these two videos. Followed by a short feature and interview about and with Heaven 17, British synth-pop band, and I still like some of their albums. And the second out of 3 artists this month is Harold Faltermeyer. He worked with Giorgio Moroder already for a while before he finally got famous on his own merits with the soundtrack for the Eddie Murphy smash hit movie Beverly Hills Cop. And last but not least, we get an interview with Rosa Precht, who has been not only a singer but also a keyboard player. She released 3 albums as Cosa Rosa, but unfortunately passed away prematurely in 1991. The in-depth technical features like this one got a bit rarer over time, at least when it got to mathematical formulae. In this case, it's about how to use digital signal processors as sound generators and what calculations are necessary for envelopes and the DAC back into the analog realm for us to listen to. In the day this was brand new technology, but I'm not sure how interesting these details have been for the regular musician without a degree in physics, even then. This month's giveaway consists of the Casio CZ101 synthesizer and the Casio SZ1 hardware sequencer, which gets its test in this issue as well. This package later got released in one unit as the CZ5000. More soundbörse with sounds sent in by readers with patches for various synthesizers of the day, including one for the older Korg MS-20 and even for the brand new synthesizer I will show you in a bit. Digital reverb is the theme of this feature, how real reverb works and how it gets simulated with digital units. I will use this Dynacord DRP16, which gets tested here, as the reverb during the presentation of the synthesizer of the month. It has 8 presets which cannot be altered other than with this tone pod, which dampens the higher frequencies. A useful feature is the gain pod, which will switch to a different impedance if you pull it out. So it's possible to use a guitar and plug it directly into this at the front. The input and the mixed out sockets are mirrored on the front, so it's easy to connect any instrument, even when you have this thing deep in a rack. The following 2 reverb units play in a higher league than the aforementioned DRP16, the Roland SRV2000 and the Yamaha Rev 7. They're both in the $1,300 price range, which today would be comparable to almost $4,000 of today's dollars, and are aiming for professional recording studios. In 1985 I couldn't even afford a proper synthesizer, so I didn't even start dreaming about one of these. My first reverb unit was the Alesis MIDI-Verb 2 from 1987, so we are still a few years early before I will show you that one, because I still have it. Today I own a Rev 7, but it's buried in a rack in my rehearsal room studio, so for now I will show you just a picture. But in the upcoming January 1986 episode I will use its successor, the Rev 5, which I have here in my effects rack. Because in that episode I will combine some units that got tossed aside a bit for the main star of the month. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you won't miss that episode. MIDI hardware sequences got dropped every month in those days, and here is Casio's entry to the competition, the SZ1. And here it is in the flash. I won't use this because it's a pretty uninteresting piece of gear. This basically works like a 4-track tape recorder, which makes its handling easy. But it's also not very sophisticated when it comes to editing. There are no patterns or bars, it's not possible to use quantization or even copy a recorded part to another position. So we are forced to play everything from start to finish, which is not a bad thing actually, although punch-in over faulty recordings is possible. When using step recording, it only takes monophonic entries. Recording dynamic playing cuts down the meager recording capacity of 1500 events by half. At least it can be MIDI synced to a drum computer. Mass storage is only possible onto a cartridge or onto tape. The price tag in the day has been almost $300, which compares to $900 today. It's still better than nothing, but compared to the other sequences I already presented, it's not very interesting. But due to the price tag, might have found some customers. Dynacord gets a second entry in the test section, but this time it's a MIDI peripheral to make your life easier when it came to hooking up multiple instruments via MIDI. The MIDI controller computer MCC1. And this is a kind of unit why I never bothered about MIDI capabilities lacking in my favorite weighted action keyboard, the Yamaha KX88. This MCC1 gives every MIDI keyboard the possibilities of a master keyboard which can deal with multiple receivers. It has 200 program memories and it'll switch accordingly when receiving a program change from your keyboard. In return, it'll switch all connected devices on their respective MIDI channels to individual programmed sounds. This is a function that is lacking in the KX88 where you can only switch patches manually. The only thing it cannot do is split programs, meaning offering multiple split windows on your keyboard that play different sounds. Which is not a problem if your receiver has that function or it sports its own keyboard that you play then. I will show the usage of this thing in the upcoming KX88 video. My first MIDI master controller like this that I actually used live has been the Yamaha Map 4, which got released a few years later. Before I moved to the fantastic MIDI-Temp MIDI patch base, which can do everything you want to do with MIDI, including controller conversion, etc. And so I never looked back. The technology feature contains the ZX software for the analog interface of last month. More listings to type of. The Drum Computer Workshop introduces us to some bass drum pattern variations, and I remember that I tried some of these after I got my Yamaha RX5 in 1988. Weirdly, in the Synthesizer Workshop, we get taught about using halftone intervals and improvised phrases over various chords. Sound analysis and synthesis is back after a longer break. The Piano Workshop shows us how to use sheet music of songs to read and learn the songs better and more efficiently. In basic music theory, we get summed up what we learned during the last few months about chords and their extensions. After we set up our recording studio in last month's home recording workshop, this time we learn about actually setting up the mixer and dial in proper levels and how an EQ works and how it is utilized. In this diagram we can see the different frequency ranges of various instruments. Microphone in Practice Part 1 tells us about how sound behaves outside and inside of rooms and how that affects the use of microphones. And as usual, the magazine closes with a flea market and a nice color ad of last month's featured piece of gear, the Korg SQD1. But this month we are focusing on a synthesizer again, the Italian-made Crumar Bit99. And like it has been the case with the Sonic Mirage, I'm again showing you the rack version of the Bit99, the BIT01. As a keyboard, I'm using the Yamaha X5 from 1998, so it's a bit anachronistic for the times the BIT01 got released, but I was in the mood to play this gem of a synthesizer again. The similarities of the BIT01 with the Mirage don't stop with the rack shape, but also the handling of the parameters is similar. Typing in parameter numbers and then editing them with the up-down buttons is the same principle you learned about in my Mirage videos. The major difference is that the list of available parameters is printed onto the front of the unit, so only about half of the space here is used for displays and buttons. In the test in the Keyboard Magazin, they just brush over the rack version a bit, saying that it's principally the same as the keyboard, but Crumar, in their wisdom, came to the conclusion that the rack won't need a MIDI out socket. You heard right, there's no MIDI out on this, only a MIDI in and a through, so while it still understands MIDI sysx and can be edited with the software via MIDI, it's not possible to dump internal patches from the BIT01 to the computer. But there's still hope. But I get to that in a moment. The only option with a regular BIT01 like this one for saving internal sound banks somewhere else is recording them onto tape. Nowadays we'd use a computer, of course, so we don't have to deal with fragile cassette tapes anymore, which degrade over time and react poorly to magnetic influences. There's another drawback with saving on tape. It's not possible to dump or load individual patches, which makes it impossible to create a best-of collection of your favorite sounds. If you organize everything in an appropriate editor software, you can deal with that there. But for that you would need the data in MIDI sysx format, which you would only get from a BIT99 keyboard. So I used the tape method because I found the two BIT99 factory sound banks as audio files ages ago somewhere online on websites that don't exist anymore today. It turned out that my BIT01 already contained the first set. Or, like I mentioned earlier, you are using an altered firmware version made by Tauntec. Link in the description below. Originally, this firmware was written only to enable the BIT99 or 01 to react to MIDI CCs for parameter changes, instead of only sysx. The MIDI through socket has to be altered physically to work as a MIDI out, and this needs a bit of soldering, but nothing like open heart surgery. You could still load tape dumps into the synthesizer, but won't be able to send out any anymore. But since then it's possible to properly use editor software with a BIT01 the same way as with a BIT99, it is nothing to shed a tear over. I just ordered this firmware a few days ago, but I didn't receive it in time to show it in this video. I'll make another one to tell you about my experiences as soon as my BIT01 got pimped. Speaking of editors, there's an adaptation in my beloved Sound Diver editor which looks like this. But if you're in need for a software that is still available and made for modern OSs, you can use MIDIquest instead. And its BIT01 editor remarkably resembles the one in Sound Diver. It's the same simple machine, so why wouldn't it? Both show the structure of the bit synthesizers pretty well, so let's check it out side by side with the real thing. This synthesizer is 6-voice polyphonic, and as you can see, per voice it contains two DCOs. A VCF and a VCA. The latter two each have their own envelope, and the filter envelope can be inverted. Here in the DCO1 section you can see the volume fader for the additional noise generator, and DCO2 can be fine-tuned for those gorgeous fat chorusy sounds we all love. The DCOs are capable of producing more than one waveform at a time, so you can switch on all three of them. Triangle, so on square, if you want to. There are two different LFOs with three waveforms, which can modulate the oscillators, the filter and the VCA, as you can see here. All parameters on the front panel with double frames can be modulated by the key velocity, like the filter envelope attack here, parameter 17, or the LFO rates, and some more. We get 75 patches of single sounds we can play with all 6 voices, but memory slots 76 to 99 are reserved for split and dual sounds, which consist out of 2 single sounds of your choosing. Of course, you're down to 3 notes of polyphony for dual layers. When you switch to stereo mode, like we already did, the lower and the upper sound get routed through their respective outputs. But in regular single sound mode, you have this funny phenomenon that the first 3 voices of what you play get sent out of the lower output, and voices 4 to 6 are coming out of the upper sound. It sounds like this. This is the reason why I narrow down the stereo field when using the BIT01. Listening to this on headphones can be a bit irritating. So you already heard the brass 1 sound from the first factory set. It's what you would expect from an analog synthesizer. It's dynamic. The first sound in the bank is in comparison a sound I wouldn't actually use. They call it electric piano. And I'm not even in the mood to try to pimp that with some effects. Number 16, which is called pulse decay. And with a bit more resonance, it could be from Jeff Wainsworth, The Worlds, actually. I like it. I think that could shine with some arpeggiator coming from the X5. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of velocity happening with the arpeggiators. 29. Sawtooth background with dynamic attack. Well, it is. The attack gets faster when I hit it harder. I like it. And 31 is a harp. It's still a good sound, although it's not a DX7, which they obviously tried to copy. I like the ping in this range. Yeah, down here it doesn't sound like a harp, but you don't need to use it there. 36. Sequencer bass. Yeah, I guess it's for something like that. With a little less reverb though. Toy Sistron. I think I like that one. '53. Digital percussion. So 63. Dynamic digital repeat. So we definitely have a filter envelope going, and the LFO is delayed. The LFOs have a delay parameter. I'm not sure which one it is. Let's check. 50-50 chance. Yeah, that one is delayed. Second LFO. And the first one is parameter 08. That is delayed as well. So the rate is modulated by the keyboard. And like I told you, 76 upwards are split or double sounds. They are a version of saying layers. Sound 76, lower sound is 70 and 71, which in this case is digital bell low and digital bell high. Yeah, there's a reason why I rather wanted to show you this one, which is Delayed Ghost and Pulse Decay 3. Here you can see the display, how it looks like when you successfully dumped a bank into the BIT01 or the BIT99. The display shows 0. This bank starts off with a piano as well. Which doesn't sound like a piano, and with this weird stereo behavior, it's just not very good for piano sounds. But in a second I'm going to show you a Wurlitzer copy, which I kind of like. Sound 19, Twang. I like it. Nice, calm pad. And now sounds Wurlitzerisch, but the polyphony is just hindering you of using pedal properly, and there's voice stealing happening all the time, and it's just not fun playing piano on this. But this machine is not made for being played as a piano. It's a synthesizer. 29. It's called Hollow. Oh, very Miami Vice-ish. Yep, good one. Where are we? 29. Eerie. Oh, please. Number 30, Eerie. When Worlds Collide in the 1950s. 33, another synth brass. Just nice. Those are the sounds I would want from such a unit. And I might have already told you that. Touch-sensitive timbre strings. That's actually very Terminator-like. Although they used a down-pitched cello sample in a Fairlight. Yeah, fits the bill. And it's a nice pad. 43. English horn. That is not exactly an English horn. It's more like French horns. Nice soft brass still. Sweep, 49. Let me guess. It's nice at the end that the VCF envelope is modulated by this delayed LFO. That's a nice edge at the end. But dynamics are not doing anything differently. Pulse. The LFO is doing its thing again, using a square wave, and depending on how hard I hit, it has a different tempo. Harpo. Somehow I like these sounds. This has some atmosphere. I like this much better even as some of the brass sounds. Let's see, for the final sound, number 60, oscillators. Uh-huh. So this synthesizer is not able to do any pitch modulation. So how is it doing it? Because we obviously have an envelope modulating pitch over time. And it's reacting to dynamics. I think we don't hear any oscillator anyway. We only hear the self-oscillating resonance of the filter. Let's see. Parameter 20. Oh yeah, that's full on. And when I turn it down, we might not hear anything at all. Yeah, good call. Well, that's some clever thing. And the envelope, I bet, is inverted. As it is the filter envelope, I mean. And so the harder we hit, the more influence we have, the lower the note gets. That is some clever sound programming there. It's not for chords. That's nice. Just out of habit, I hit the sustain pedal, and then the results are different. Well, that's it for the sounds of the BIT01 rack expander, made by Crumar. And that is what a synthesizer made in Italy from the mid-80s sounds like. It might not be a Prophet 5 or a Jupiter 8, but I think it can hold its ground pretty well and is an underestimated unit. I played it quite a bit the last few days, and from now on I will use it more often while recording songs. Especially all the modulation you can do to the sounds just with dynamic playing I really like. You won't be able to get a lot of weird effect sounds out of it, but the sounds it does well, it really does well. In the episode of this magazine's October 85 issue, we'll see and hear another rack version of a synth that has been its manufacturer's top racehorse until they came up with a real game changer in 1988. It's a bit lower in one of my racks and I don't really want to dig it out of there, so I'll have to figure out a way to film me using it in knee height without completely ruining my back. Let's see how far I got next time. Thanks for watching, and please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you won't miss me trying to fold myself into a weird shape to get to that synthesizer. See you again soon on All About Keys.